Greetings, thank you for joining me today. Hope wherever you are, life is treating you well. Now, I enjoy an unboxing video as much as the next man. I get a lot from those. It influences my buying decisions with a lot of things you might only see online. So for example, you see how it looks when it comes straight out the box. You get an idea of the specs, you get an idea of the documentation, you get an idea of the guarantee period. And these things they're not the only things, but they're core to how I decide whether to buy or not. I like things to have a long guarantee period, so it makes you feel secure, doesn't it? Thinking that, well, if it's got a 2-year, 3-year guarantee, if it fails, I can always get help with that. And manufacturers that put in a decent guarantee period, that shows you how willing they are to back up their product. With that in mind, though, we don't often see the long view videos to say how long a product actually lasted. It's all very well to give something a 2-year, 3-year guarantee period, but if it doesn't last that long, a lot of manufacturers know that if they make something just mediocre enough to get most of the way through the guarantee period, you will just blindly buy another rather than following through and trying to dig out your receipts and follow through on getting your guarantee assistance. And they know this. So it's good to see a review once in a while that says whether or not a product actually met expectations or not. To that end, let's talk about macerators. Yes, I could have picked any product, but the Macerator is the latest thing that's failed in this household, so I thought, well, why not talk about it? So it was a couple of years back when we decided to create a new bathroom and change the orientation of the toilet in the bathroom, which brings me to what a Macerator does. Now, to the uninitiated, if you've got a regular toilet, ideally you should be piping waste through your wall directly downwards, ideally the shortest route to your sewer main possible to remove that waste from the property. And if that happens, all is good. However, with older properties where things have been adjusted over the years, you might not have that option, and this is when a Macerator might be quite handy. So what a Macerator is, it's a food processor, but from the other end, a food processor with a pump, often in the same unit. And the idea is it's designed to allow you to put a toilet where you want to put a toilet, where a toilet might not ordinarily be, and then pipe the waste out and up around to the sewer main. Again, the shortest route you can manage, but it's designed with flexibility in mind. Let me show you what we bought. So the toilet I wanted to install was in a convenient place for the family, for easy use. You know, you don't want it round a corner up the road. You don't want it to be like a Wetherspoons. You want it to be where convenient. So with that in mind, I thought, well, okay, well, the only way to work it was to buy a Macerator, because it wasn't going to be on the outside wall. And a lot of properties are like that. I've got friends who have flats where you've got a front room and a back room, and a middle room is the bathroom. And again, that's where you'll need the Macerator to gather not only toilet waste, but also wastewater from the shower, wastewater from the sink, maybe wastewater from a washing machine, all into one unit and pump it straight out. But it has to be reliable, because you can imagine if you've got all these things pumping into one device, you want to make sure that they're always going to work. You won't want a flood on your hands. And when the Macerator breaks, well, it's something that requires immediate attention, often expensive attention if you're not a plumber. So why do we buy a Macerator? Well, because I like to learn and develop the skills allowing me to cope with these things. And I thought, well, I didn't want to spend an awful lot of money. Now, a Macerator can cost 600, 700, up to over £1,000, but you can get them cheaper than that. So to that end, sub 200 at the time was from a company called Plumbworld, cheap and cheerful Chinese. This is the Macerator in question. It's a device, you can see it's quite slim looking, and it sits behind your toilet, connected with a rubber pipe, and it sits on rubber feet to dampen some of the sounds that it produces. And it has a kind of cage built into it, you can see there, and whirling blades of doom. And basically the waste comes out your toilet into the cage, where it's chopped up by the whirling blades of doom, and then the pump, which is part of the same motor that powers the blades, pumps the fluids in a stream out of the top there through a one-way valve. It's designed to stop backflow, of course. It has various inputs. You can go down there or down there or through there, and there's a little carbon filter doodad there just to help with the air pressure changes. Now inside you've got the pumpy motor thing, and you've also got a switch which is a float switch, and it's designed to react to the pressure or the change of water pressure within the device. So when the toilet's flushed and the water floods into the macerator, the water level rises and it causes a change in the pressure on the switch. And the switch is in like it's behind a membrane, it's behind a rubber membrane which operate, and basically a micro switch gets operated. It's very cheap and cheerful and it does the trick. But eventually this one decided to pack up while I was mid-shift. I heard it go, which is the standard noise this macerator makes, but no one was in the bathroom. And it just decided to short out and operate on its own, and very shortly that noise translated to tripping the residual current device, the RCD, on our breaker system, and it shorted out everything on this loop. So I had to go take a little quick break, take it out of commission, and it has to be fitted with an isolator switch, of course. You can't just plug it in. It doesn't come with a plug for obvious reasons. You have to fit it to a spur properly, up to code and so on, and yeah, took it out of service. And basically the switch had got water in it, so the switch device is always underwater. It's part of the design. You could probably design it better, but this is how they designed it. It's compact. Does it make some noise? Yep, it does. What are the specs? It's a 400 watt device. It is 230 volts, isn't it? Standard UK voltage. It has a maximum head of 5.5 meters, so it can pump up theoretically 5.5 meters upwards, and a rated flow of 100 liters per minute, and you can pump horizontally about 60 meters, which is more than enough for most use scenarios. So in our case, we really only had to pump it on the level around a corner, so it was good for us. I thought it's probably going to shoot the waste across the yard outside, but it didn't. It was just absolutely perfect. You do have to use curved pipes. Don't be tempted to put a right angle in the pipe leading out of this waste out, because it will cause blockages. But if you use a curved pipe, it stays clean as a whistle and doesn't fail that way. So the device allows you to put these bathrooms in where they ought not to be, and it means that if you have a waste out pipe, it can be a very thin diameter pipe. You know, this is my chosen thickness, but you can go thinner. I don't know that you'd want to go thinner, but this is the diameter I went with, and it's quite reasonable to pump that through a hole in the wall. Now, in the case of our bathroom, I had it around a corner, not next to the wall, and I didn't have a hole big enough for a regular toilet pipe, you know, something of this sort, to go through the wall. It wasn't that big at the time. So I wanted to do minimal damage to the wall, which is why I went with a macerator. Yes, I could have got the chisel out. Yeah, I could have got the chisel and the drills out and done it properly, but I didn't want to. Okay, yes, it was an expensive choice, but I thought it was the right choice at the time. Now, this thing came with a 2-year guarantee, and it exceeded that guarantee over 3 years in service before it failed. And at this point, technically, I could take it apart and get another micro switch in there, and it could give me further years service. I don't have a problem with it. It was very, very good. Up to the last moment it was in service, it was still pumping strong. So, Plumbworld, 2 thumbs up, really, honestly. And if you're going to buy one, if you only want it for a couple of years, well, worth it. If you're a landlord who's got a downstairs flat in your cellar, yeah, well worth it. But you do have to make it very clear to anyone that uses it that you've got to be careful what goes into that macerator. So, for example, if you've got a toilet and things might fall in, solid things that aren't your standard poop, then you want to make sure that they're removed as quickly as possible, because if, for example, piercings, rings, coins, anything that might be knocked over into the toilet by children or pets, that has to be fished out before it hits those blades, because it will jam the blades, it will wreck the motor. It's not only that, if materials find their way underneath the motor. The motor's got two ends, of course. You know, there's the whirling blades of doom, and up the bottom there's also, no pun intended, there's another place where you can potentially jam the impeller. So you have to be mindful of that. Now, in our household, it didn't jam thanks to, well, we managed to jam it with a stone at one point and had to take the whole thing out and empty it outside on the yard to get the bloody stone out. And how did the stone end up in it? Well, because I was fixing the bathroom ceiling and some stone fell in as a result of that. I should have been more mindful of that, and I didn't do it again. What can also happen is if you use a good quality toilet paper, a good quality toilet paper will also block it if you use too much of it. How much is too much? For example, that's too much in one sitting. Now, some people, you know, when you've got the human crayon effect, if you're one of those that just wipes and wipes, then you might find you use this much, in which case it will block. Which is when it becomes really, really tedious having one of these things, because you have to take the lid off and you have to remove the cage, empty the cage, all with the power isolated, of course, and put it all back together. It's a messy thing, and sometimes you have to bail out the toilet if you flush too many times. Horrible. To avoid this, you're best recommended to buy the cheapest, nastiest, most easily soluble toilet paper you can find. Camping toilet paper is really good, or the Aldi cheap range. I love the Aldi cheap range because it just dissolves when it touches water, and that will generally, I mean, not but always, but generally not be a problem. But the more high quality, you know, we can afford high quality toilet paper, but when you've got a macerator, you don't buy it. You just don't buy it. The same would go for paper towels. Obviously, only a maniac puts paper towels down the toilet. Don't do that. By the same token, you wouldn't want to flush cat litter. Some cat litters can be flushed. Don't do that. You want to fish any rings out if they're, you know. And when it comes to the household, certain members of the household did accidentally do this more than a couple of times, and that was when I sat them down and showed them, this is how we fix a macerator when Daddy's not around. And yes, so you have to take all the screws out, isolate the device, take all the screws out, take the lid off, and do the whole palaver of fixing it. And one run through of that, as it turns out, was enough, because my kids learn. So if you're in a similar situation, you need to explain to all and sundry, this is what happens. If you clog it, you fix it. Or you pay for someone to fix it. And you won't like that, because plumbers are able to charge exactly what they want for fixing this sort of situation. And when it keeps happening, because you're being careless, well, it's money for... it's easy money, isn't it? Grim, though. But would I recommend it? Well, yeah, Plumbworld, yeah, I would recommend it if you need one. If you've got limited funds, then this is the way to go. I can't speak for any other higher quality macerators, but I imagine the issues are just the same. But yeah, it's been a good experience. So that's the long view. 3 years, flawless, 2 thumbs up. Nice to say, isn't it? Anyway, thank you for listening. Whatever you do, have a great day. See you soon. Bye for now. Oh, one last thing. If you do buy one of these macerators, it's also worth investing in a bidet of some sort, a bidet hose or a bidet attachment for your toilet seat, something, because it cuts down on the amount of toilet paper you use, and that will in turn mean you stand less chance of clogging the macerator. So yeah, and why wouldn't you like a bidet? Really, it's the way the civilized world works. Civilized people use a bidet. Trust me. Once you've tried to use it, you won't want to go back. Yeah, just my thoughts. Anyway, have a great day.